Hi friends, it's Becky and I have a fun little project to share with you today using some of the beads and findings that came in the Potomac Beads treasure box. This was the July treasure box and it's the Aloha Paradise box. I had a little bit of you know, like it's like writer's block, beater's block for this. And eventually all of these little teeny ideas that I had coalesced into what I'm going to be sharing with you today. And I'm really excited about it because it is a lot of fun. I'm going to show you how to make this little beaded link. It's going to be a link that I'm going to turn into a chain. And then we're going to have a little focal that we'll make with this square bead and these daggers. And then we'll put it all together, and if you stick around to the end of this video, I'll show you how to make a little component using one of the daggers and this same design to make a little earring to go with it. So we'll do that today, and this is going to be a fairly beginner-friendly bead weaving design because there aren't any super complicated going around and in and out and adding a whole bunch of extra things to it that we're going to be doing, and we're using these 8/0 seed beads, so it's going to be easier for you to see, especially if you've got you know, some issues seeing the little tiny beads and seeing where you're going with those. We're also going to be using these 8/0 seed beads that came in the box. There were these silver colored ones. We also had these bibo beads. These are 2-hole beads that came in the box that we are going to be using. And then these rounduos. They are round beads with 2 holes in them. So they're like little 6mm drucks, but with holes in them. And so we're going to be using those. We're also going to be using some jump rings. I'm going to use 2 different jump rings in this design. I'm using some of these oval jump rings that came in the box. And then I've got some 5mm jump rings, and I'm using these to go through these 8/0s at the end of these to turn them into a link. Because the 11/0 jump rings don't quite fit in the 8/0 holes, but these 5mm jump rings that I have fit great. So I'm going to be using those. I'm also going to be using, for the necklace part, a little bit of an extender chain and a lobster clasp from my stash. I'm using these cabochons and their settings that came in the box too. In order to set these cabochons in there, I just put a little bit of glue inside of the bezel and then stuck the cab right in it and then left it alone for 24 hours so that the glue could cure. So again, we're going to be using these square beads, we're going to be using some of these daggers, and that's just going to be the focal for this. But for the necklace part, I'm going to show you how to make these links and how to put them together. Now I'm using some dragon thread. I have this green dragon thread in my stash that I decided to use because we have a lot of green tones in this. There was a gold or tan dragon thread that came in the box. Oh, I don't have it out. Actually, it came in this box, and it's a fantastic colorway when you've got gold tone findings, but I wanted to continue with the green theme, so I grabbed my green dragon thread, but you can use any beading thread that you're comfortable with. I went ahead and threaded a comfortable length of beading wire. Each of these components doesn't take very much thread, so when I was making several of them in a row, I just pulled out about an arm's length, or about a wingspan's worth, and after I completed each of my links and then cut it off, then I just kept the same length of thread that I had already threaded and did the next one. So that's what I did, but let's scooch in just a little bit closer because I've got my thread here, and for each of these we're going to be using 2 of the rounduo beads. For each link we're going to be using 1 of the bibo beads. We're going to be using 10, I didn't count this, of the 8/0 seed beads. So I'm going to pick up one 8/0 seed bead because I want to have this be part of my design of the link, but it's also going to serve as a stop bead. So I'm just going to hold on to it and scooch down to the near the end, not all the way to the end, of my thread like this. Then I'm going to sew back through so that my thread makes a circle around the edge of the bead. And now that I've got that, I can go into my rounduo. Now I like to check before I go through that both holes in a 2-hole bead work. You can check before you start as well, but just checking it out a little bit before you go through, it's just a good idea. That way you don't get halfway through this and then go back down the other way to find out that one of the holes is blocked or something. I did already check my bibo beads. Just make sure you can get your needle through both holes. So now that I'm going up like this, I'm going to make myself a little hat, and this is going to be one end of my link. So I'm going to pick up 3 of these 11/0s on my needle, and then I'm going to sew back into the other hole on that rounduo. When I do that, these guys should pop into place, and if they don't pop into place, you can maneuver them, making that a little hat on top of that. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to leave that other bead coming out of the other hole. And now I'm going to pick up another 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to go through one of the holes in this bibo bead, and these don't have a top or bottom, so it doesn't matter which hole you go into the first time you pick them up, either the rounduos or the bibo beads. So on my needle I've got an 8/0, the bibo bead, an 8/0, and my rounduo, and I'm going to push that down next to my other rounduo that I started this with. Like that. And I want a little hat on the other end, so I'm going to pick up my 3 seed beads for my hat, go into the other hole on my rounduo. It's the opposite hole from the one that I'm coming out of. And now I want to go back down till I am coming out of this, but I need to add another seed bead before I can do that. So I'm going to pick up an 8/0 seed bead, go through this bibo, go through this 8/0, that was the first one that I added, and then go through the rounduo and that last 8/0 on that side. And when I pull this taut, this should help everybody kind of sink into place. Now I just want to reinforce this. I'm leaving this right here because I'm going to come back to it, but I want to reinforce this one time by going through all of these beads one more time, going through all 3 of these beads on the end. And you probably won't be able to maneuver your needle to go through all 3 at the same time, so you can just go one at a time, like through this one and then the next one. And if you can go through one of these at a time, but I kind of like lining up all of these holes so that I can put all of them through my needle at the same time. It's really fun, actually. It satisfies this little itch in my brain when I can do that. But if you can't maneuver it that way, or if it doesn't line up right, go ahead and just do 1 bead at a time or 2 beads at a time, just to get that thread through all of those beads, through all of those holes that it's already been through one more time. Now on this next go round on this side, instead of going all the way through to come out the end here, I'm going to stop right where my thread is coming out of that 8/0 seed bead right there, because now that my 2 ends of my thread are meeting up, I can tie this off and then burn off my ends. See how quick and easy this is? I'm going to tie overhand knot and pull that tight. And then I like to tie a surgeon's knot, so instead of doing a square knot, on the second pass, you know how you do like right over left and then left over right? on the second pass, I go over and through that hole once, and then over and through that hole twice, and that gives you a surgeon's knot. And my square knots are not that secure, so I prefer this one. It just works better for me. But you do the knot that's going to work for you. And then I can cut this off. And like, I made a whole bunch of these in a row, so I got pretty good at this little process. And then burn down the ends, and now I've got myself a little link, but it's not quite a link yet. Not until I get my jump rings in the ends. So I'm gonna grab some pliers. I'm gonna grab one plier to hold my jump ring and another plier to sort of twist it. So I've got a little bent nose plier in this one. You can also use jump ring rings if that's what you've got, but basically you just want to hold one side secure while the other side kind of just swings it open like that. And then once you've got it opened, this bead right here on the end, sort of the middle of the hat, that's where you're just going to loop your jump ring through. And this is what turns it into a link that we can connect with other links with the jump rings. Instead of making a beaded link with some craft wire or, you know, a head pin, or sorry, an eye pin, instead of doing that, I'm just making the link with my bead weaving and then using some jump rings to connect them together. And it works great with these 8/0 seed beads because the 8/0s are absolutely big enough for these 5mm jump rings to go through. They are not quite big enough for the oval jump rings that came in this box to go through. So I'm using the oval jump rings to connect the links together. Let me show you that real quick. So now that I've got my link done like that with my 2 jump rings on either side, I can take a oval jump ring. Any jump ring will be fine, but I like these oval ones. And I can just loop this and the next link onto the same oval jump ring and close it up like that. And then I can use that same oval jump ring and connect my chain to these links, these cabochon links. Like this. Let's see this one. So I'm building my chain, adding my necklace, and see how that just connects it together. So now that I've got that link there, I have another chain that I already made using that connector. And now I'm going to connect both of these to this connector here. And after I connect those to this connector, I'm going to make my focal using these, and I'll show that to you in just a minute. Let me get both of these guys connected here. I'm going to use these oval jump rings again. I'm going to connect both ends of this chain to the same hole on this connector. I could connect them like this and that would be just fine and actually probably would look good, but I want to hang a focal from this, so here we go. Going with the same chain. Alright, and let's make sure that that is gonna hang nicely. Alright, so I'm going to move this out of the way while I show you how to make this focal. For the focal, I'm going to use 14 of the 8/0 seed beads and 3, actually probably not all 14, 10 of these 8/0 seed beads, this one 2-hole square glass bead, it's a check glass bead, it has 2 holes running through it, and then 3 of these single hole daggers, and we're going to put this all together. Where is my thread? I think it just fell off my desk, so it might be on the floor. Let me So it's going to be sort of the same start with a 8/0 seed bead as a stop bead that is also going to be part of the design, so you don't have to worry about removing it later. And I'm going to go ahead and start, leave myself enough tail for tying, and go through in that same direction. Alright, now I'm going to go through this 1 hole in this 2-hole square bead. And then I'm going to pick up 7 8/0 seed beads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then I'm going to go through this 2nd hole on this square bead. And this is the part where I'm going to add my daggers. Now this part is just for doing it as a focal. If you want to have it be like a connector like this, just do the same thing on the 2nd side. Add 6 seed beads because you already have 1, and then just follow the same directions for making it into a point on that end. So let me pick up 1 11/0 seed bead, or sorry, 11, they're 8/0s, not 11/0s. 1 dagger, 1 8/0 seed bead, 1 dagger, 1 8/0 seed bead, 1 dagger, and then I'm going to sew into that seed bead that's right there next to that hole, and then keep going through that hole. See how that becomes part of that design. So it's 7 on this side. If you're going to do it with a connector thing so that both ends are the same, you'd want to add 6 on this other end instead of with these daggers. So I'm going to go through this a couple of times to reinforce it. The first time through, I'm going to skip this middle bead on this end. I'm going to sew through these 3 beads here. I'm going to skip that 4th bead, and I'm going to sew down through these 3 beads here and our square bead. And hopefully when I pull this tight, that middle bead will pop right up and make a point. That's the whole reason why I skipped that one, was because I wanted it to pop right up. This is what I'm going to put a jump ring through to connect it to my necklace like that. So I want it to be a little bit separated, a little bit sticky outy. All right, so now I'm going to go through all of these beads another time. And pardon me for my awkwardness. It's just a little difficult sometimes to get through the holes. Right. Now on my second pass through, I'm going to make 3 whole passes. So the first pass, well, wait, the first pass was that way. No, 4 passes, all right. So the first pass was adding the beads. Second pass was popping this into place. My third pass, I'm going to go through all of the beads, including that one that's popped up. And that's because I want to reinforce where this bead is, because it will be the connection point. I'd like it to be a little bit stronger there. All right. Oh, good. That's going to make it a little bit easier to go through all the rest of these. And I'm going to do another pass after this, and that other pass after this, I'm going to skip that bead again, just to reinforce the poppy outy, sticky outy nature of it. Right. So here we go again. This is my last pass on this side. And again, if you want to do a connector, you would just be doing this on both ends instead of going through these down here. You'd just be doing the exact same thing as this on both ends of this. So go through these 3 beads, skip that middle guy. Actually, let's go on around on the other side. It doesn't matter which side your thread is on. Go through those next 3. Go through as many beads as you can. And I'm just moving my thread over here to where this other piece of thread is sticking out, my tail thread, because I'm just going to tie it off, burn it down, and I'm going to have my little focal all done and ready to go. So let's do this. Let's tie this off. It's a very, very simple, again, beginner friendly. If you've been afraid to start doing any sort of bead weaving, this is a good opportunity to give this a try. Because it isn't complicated. You're basically just going around in a circle a couple of times with this thread. Burn that down. All right, and now I need a jump ring in this point here. So let's add it. But each of these little links are really fun and really easy to make. And let me tell you a little bit about what inspired this. Last year, for the month of September, I did a little challenge where I challenged myself to make a beaded chain necklace, at least 2 beaded chain necklaces every week. And some weeks I did more, some weeks I did just the 2. But in the middle of all of that, there were some little challenges that I gave myself, and one of those was to make a beaded chain where the links weren't made out of metal or wire. The links were made out of bead-woven components, and it was really, really fun to do. And I'll put a link to the video for that in the description below if you guys want to see it, because it was a lot of fun and it was one of my favorite things that I made last year. So I wanted to do that again with these beads, and I am so pleased. Look at this, my friends. Let's scooch back out. There we go. So you can see that. And then on the ends, I can just put my jump ring and a little extender chain. Let's link these on here. And then it's something that I can wear. And let me show you what I'm going to do with this one, because I made some extra links and I made this one, and I'm just going to do a little bracelet with it because it's got its links on either side. And this extender chain is just, it's some silver Rollo chain. It's like a 5mm Rollo chain. And I think that they are fantastic for extender chains because they're so open, so it's easy to get your clasp attached to it with like a lobster clasp. I always check my lobster clasps to make sure they work. I think it's only been like one that I found out after the fact didn't work. And like every time I test them now, they all work. But having that one that just like I had already finished the necklace and I went to go put it on and the lobster clasp didn't work, that's what makes me be like, you know what, check your lobster clasps. You know? It's always just that one time that things didn't work right that makes you decide that, you know what, I'm gonna make sure that I get this right from now on. I'm just moving my beads out of the way. I'm gonna get them put up later. There we go. So that is my necklace. Let me show you how I make the bracelet. It's going to be real quick because I already showed you how to make this. You just do the same thing as this one, but on both sides. Do our little pointy guy. And then if I put some jump rings on each end of this one, it can be a focal for my bracelet. So let's get this guy in here. And I've already got some links that I've attached a lobster clasp and an extender chain to. So it's going to be a real quick bracelet for y'all. So you put this guy in here. Close it up. This guy on the other side. Close it up. Alright, and if you're sticking around for the earring, I will do that in just a minute. Let's get our bracelet finished first. But making these little components, it's a fun little way to pass some time. Once you do like the first 2 or 3, it's you don't even have to like remember basically what you were doing before, because it's something you can do over and over again while you're watching something or while you're listening to an audiobook or something like that. And it's really meditative to do like that repetitive practice with it, in my opinion, for that. So let's get these guys in here. So like these are exactly the same links that I just showed you how to do. And now I've got myself a little bracelet that will go with my necklace. And now let's do the earrings. All right, so for this earring, it's basically going to be the same, except on one end, I'm replacing one of those 3 beads with a dagger. So we start off the same with our 2 guys there, our 2 round duos, 1 bibo, and 10. except you don't need 10, you only need 9 of these 11-ohs, but I'm going to pull that 11-oh down almost to the end of my thread. And instead of scooching in, I'm just going to go ahead and do this a bit zoomed out a little bit, because sometimes when you're doing the close in, you see where you go in with the beads, but you don't see like the larger hand movements. You don't see how things maybe work together. So I'm going to keep it here. Pick up one of my rounduos. Where you going, buddy? There we go. One rounduo, and then an 8-oh, bibo, the second rounduo, and I'm just going to go ahead and pick up my 3 8-ohs that go on the hat on the end, and pick that up right here, right now, while I scooch this down, and then go back into that rounduo that's next to it. And then try not to pull my work out of my hands. And now I've got my little hat. Pick up an 8-oh. Go through this rounduo. Oh, hold on. I forgot to put an 8-oh between the bibo and this one. I called it a rounduo instead of a bibo. So I'm just going to back out of all of this. And you could take your needle off of your thread and pull the thread out to back things up. But I'm just going to go back through the holes that it's already been through. And I'm just doing it one bead at a time to make sure it'll go through. These 3 I can go through all together. Just backing things out, because I forgot that one bead back there, so backing things out. And this is easy to do because it isn't a complicated pattern and I haven't gotten very far. So it's a little bit easier to back out like that. All right, now let's get our 3 guys back on here. 1, 2, 3, and go through that second hole in the rounduo to make our little hat. Now I want to pick up an 8-oh, go through the bibo bead, and then go through this 8-oh and my rounduo. Wait. I think I did this the opposite way. I'm going to take this off because I went around the wrong way on that. That's okay. I'm basically at that point. I need to add another 8-oh here. Go through this second rounduo hole. Honestly, I should have done my hat first, but that's okay, because I can just do this. Alright, now I'm going to pick up 1 8-oh, the dagger, 1 8-oh, and then go through this next rounduo hole, and then up through the rest of this little link. So I'm coming out of that 8-oh on the opposite side. These are getting a little bit tangly. That's okay. Alright, and then I'm going to reinforce it by going through the whole thing again. Basically, it's exactly the same as the other project. or the other part, the other link that I showed you, it's just replacing one of these 8/0s on the end with the dagger. And I'm just reinforcing, trying to tighten things up as I go. Alright, and then I need to come around to where this is coming out of the rounduo. There. That's going to take me back through these two, all three of those beads actually. Because I'm just trying to get to where this thread is coming out of. So I can tie it off and attach an ear wire and have myself some earrings that will go with my bracelet and my necklace. Alright, so I was basically just going in a big circle with my thread, and I just went in that big circle a couple of times until my threads met up again, my thread ends. Now I am tying my little knot. I'm gonna cut my thread. But yeah, this is a really fun project, and I really enjoyed playing around with it, and I made a lot of my links last night while I was watching some TV. It was really relaxing. And now I just grab a jump ring and put it through this middle guy right here, just like I did with my links. And then I can take my ear wire, pop that open, and now I've got a couple of earrings that go with the necklace that I just made and the bracelet that matches. Here we go. Alright, well, let me know if you guys want to give this a try. Again, in the description below, I will put a link to my other beaded chain that has bead-woven links designs in it. And I'll also put links to the Potomac Beads site if you were interested in subscribing to the treasure box. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Happy beading. Bye!